Alright, welcome back to the Crabby Dice and welcome back to my 2020 recap videos here. And this one's going to be a negative list, so I think I'm going to alternate positive and negative lists going forward. And this one's going to be the top 7 companies and games seeking redemption from their projects in 2020. And what I mean by that, because it could be confusing, is not all companies out there have a positive reputation. All right, they all have issues with either production or massive delays, or their games are just not good. All right, so they really need a couple of games to hit with positive good reviews, good quality, on time, and all that stuff, so that people would want to back their games going forward. Because one of the worst things you can have in Kickstarter is a bad reputation. Then why would people like me suggest you back their games, knowing that you could get a bad product when it finally gets fulfilled, right? So, and you don't want to go through issues. So we're going to look at 7 games here, or 7 companies, and just a couple of things, couple of caveats before we start. I didn't put any of those party games on my list. That would be too easy. You sort of know what you're getting into if you back those, so like Trial by Trolley and all that stuff. It is what it is. And I didn't put any of those companies that release those $10, $15, $20 games. Those you can just take a flyer and you're not expecting much from them, so it is what it is. All right, so let's get started here. And we'll start more on a sort of lighter note here. This is a pretty funny one. I put Overboss, a Boss Monster adventure here, just mostly for the Boss Monster IP. I mean, Boss Monster at this point has a pretty bad reputation in our hobby. It's almost like Munchkin. When you enter the hobby, it's one of the first games you play. You have fun for a bit, but then you realize how bad of a game it is, and you never return to play anything Boss Monster related, because it really is just a bad game. So here you're using the theme again, you're creating a new game, hopefully to turn the fortunes around of this IP, and hopefully you can use this IP going forward. I did forget to mention this is Brotherwise Games. Second reason I have this game on my list is, for me, Brotherwise Games, their reputation, their games that they've released in the past, not very good. So they have Boss Monster, like I mentioned, and they have Call to Adventure, which in my opinion is a pretty bad, just luck throwing some rune type of game. There's no strategy in that game whatsoever, so it's pretty bad. So this one needs to turn their fortunes around. Now that being said, I did read the rulebook, watch a few videos. It looks like a promising game. It looks pretty good. It looks, oddly enough, really similar to Cascadia, which is another drafting game that I covered in my last video. So every turn you're going to be drafting a tile and drafting a monster. That being said, I prefer the scoring system in Cascadia more than this one. This one scores more like Suburbia / Castles of Mad King, where tiles need to be next to each other or whatever, or different tiles and sort of whatever. Whereas Cascadia is more free form and has scoring cards. So anyway, I won't compare the two. We'll see when they come out which one is better, but this one looks a lot more promising than anything that they've released in the past. All right, so that's going to be my number 7, Brotherwise Games. Now my number 6 is going to be Lazy Squire Games. All right, this one's just on the list just because they're just really delayed with all their projects. This is only their second, I guess, created game. Their first one is Wild Ascent, and people are still waiting for that game, and that game's been delayed for over a year and a half. I think it was supposed to be delivered in November or December 2019, and it's set to be delivered in April, May, sometime this year. I mean, they released an update a couple of days ago where finally they're printing out the sheets. Just a lot of delays on Wild Ascent. So, I wouldn't back Storm Thunder until Wild Ascent comes out and it's, has some positive reviews and stuff like that, because this is a really expensive game and you don't want to pay for it, and it's for it to come out in 4 years. That's just a really long time. So yeah, I really wanted Wild Ascent to come out. This one, it makes me a little sad. I was really excited about this one. I was this close from backing it. I sort of do really want to back the late pledge as well. I think this late pledge one is going to stay open for pretty much the whole year. Because that's pretty much how Wild Ascent worked. The late pledge was open forever and just closed when they were going to deliver. So that's Lazy Squire Games. Hopefully they can deliver Wild Ascent. All right, my number 5. This one is really, in my opinion, this one is the Fascade Games game line, I guess we can call it. So for me, this one is just the games that they've been producing have just been bad. I played Tortuga and Salem. I did not play Deadwood though. and these two have just been some of the worst party hidden role games that I ever played. Just really bad games. I mean, this company, you know, they're sort of on the right track. Their production's through the roof. I mean, neoprene everything, great tokens, great dice, great aesthetic with the book on your shelf, looks great, great card quality, everything looks fantastic. The rule book's actually really good. The problem is the games are not good, right? So they're right there. So if they can get a good game in that'll work for me, then maybe I'll look at their company's future games and in a better light. But if this one fails as well, well then I wouldn't really even look at any other Facade games going forward. That being said, I did look at the rulebook for this one. It looks really good actually. You're trying to get on a car with somebody that doesn't have the plague, try to win the game, so on and so on. But it looks like a great game. We'll see when it comes out if it's going to be any good, and maybe I'll give it a shot. All right, my number 4 is going to be Cranio Creations with Maharaja. So why is this on the list? All right, this is pretty simple. Why it's on the list is Cranio Creations is having a lot of issues with their production of their Kickstarter games. So they only have 2 created in the past, Barrage and Lorenzo Magnifico, the digital edition. Barrage marred with full of production issues. One of the games where if you talk about production issues, somebody's going to bring a Barrage, right? So just filled with issues, you know, even a second Kickstarter to try to fix the issues. You know, if you would have backed it, I sort of feel bad for you. You would have paid a lot for that 3D thing that doesn't work. It's just a big mess, and you would have been better off just getting the retail edition of the game. So this one, when we talk about Cranio Creations, very important to note that we're not talking about the game quality at all. The games are fantastic. Barrage is probably, it probably is my favorite game from last year. All right, so it's not the quality of the game that's bad, it's the production of the game that's pretty awful. And then you have Lorenzo Magnifico, the digital edition. A lot of people back just for the promos. People are still waiting for their promos. They still haven't received it, and they were supposed to receive it ages ago. So a lot of production and fulfillment issues with their game. So, you know, this one, Maharaja, again, it's just a deluxe version of a game that was previously released. Hopefully they can deliver this, and they won't have any issues with their future projects. All right, pretty simple for them. My number 3, again, pretty simple here. What are we talking about? Steamforged Games. So here we're talking about 2 games that came out this year. We're talking about Resident Evil 3 and Bard Song. All right, so these 2 over here. And this company is on the list. Pretty simple. Their games have just been awful. All right, and it's worse than Facade Games, because Facade Games, these are like $30, $40 deluxe bookcase games, whatever. So even if they're terrible games, it's just $30 that you threw out. But you know, Steamforged Games, these are gigantic campaigns. These are $200 to $300 to $350 massive campaigns that you're just throwing at this company in hopes of getting a good game. And so far they have not delivered on any of their games. All right, so Dark Souls, horrible game. Resident Evil 2, horrible game. Horizon Zero Dawn, their latest one, might be the worst out of all 3. Just a really, really bad game. Now, some people say God Terror is a good game. I saw some reviews. I'm not blown away. It gets mixed reviews. It is what it is. But still, their big bombastic games are not getting good reviews. So here we're looking at Resident Evil 3 and Bard Song. To be honest, if those 2 games are not any good and doesn't get good reviews and stuff like that, or good quality, well, their stuff is in general great quality, and you get your money's worth of minis in the box. It's just the gameplay is just really, really bad. The rules have issues and stuff like that. So, you know, Bard Song looked promising. You know, if Steamforged Games had a better reputation, Bard Song could have been one of those $4 or $5 million games, but it didn't even cross $1 million, because, well, it did cross over $1 million, but you know, it could have raised a lot more if it had better reputation. And it has a chance. You know, I really want to try this game. It looks promising, but you just never know, right? Because of their reputation. My number 2, pretty simple here, Archon Studio with Wolfenstein. This one, you know, issues across the board. I mean, name it, they've had it. So all those 3 issues that I talked about at the start of the video here, quality of the games, quality of the production, delays, name it, they have it. Chronicle X at this point, I think this thing was kickstarted in 2016. People are still waiting for it. Nobody knows when they're gonna get their stuff, if they're even gonna get it. Reload, the Vanguard series, these are just awful games. Nobody really likes. I mean, this one makes me a bit sad. I watched a lot of the reviews, the playthrough videos, the rule book. It looks like a really good game, and I was this close from backing it actually. And you know what, I'm gonna really wait to see if they can deliver even the He-Man game and Chronicle X with high quality and good production and great reviews. And if that happens, then I'll jump back and get Wolfenstein. All right, but you know, name it, they've had issues. You know, they really need to fix their issues with Chronicle X before I would back anything their company produces going forward. All right, and finally, I have Blackbox Adventures as my number one. And there's one main reason I have this company as my number one, is because I was really surprised and upset by the whole fiasco that was happening when the Dice Tower sort of covered this game earlier in the year. All right, and if you don't know, is that Tom Vasel sort of trashed this company and sort of, I don't even remember now what happened, but he ended up having to release an apology video later in the year to sort of apologize about trashing the previous things. But why? I totally disagree that any of that should have happened. All right, because in my opinion, if a reviewer says that their games suck and you shouldn't back their games going forward because their previous games suck, I don't know why he would have to apologize for that. All right, if anything, he's warning us because he's in the know. He should be doing that, because honestly, if Adventures to Neverland does suck, then he was right to say it. And if it's good, well, too bad. Well, okay, it could have been good, but their previous games all suck. All right, if we go through their catalog here, Revenge of the Dictators, I agree with Tom Vasel. I played this game. This is one of the worst games ever made, bar none. This is a complete dumpster fire of a game. I have no idea why they even released this. It was garbage. Fruta de Mare, another terrible game. It's just horrible. Or just like two of the worst games I had ever played in my life are in their catalog. Then they have Itchy Monkey, which I never played. It's just an abstract game. Some people like it, some people don't. Mixed reviews. It's nothing special at this point if you check on BGG. And now they have Adventures to Neverland. So again, this fits my criteria exactly. This is the game that when I thought about making the list, this was going to be my number one. Games that sort of companies that need to turn their reputation around for stuff that they've released in the past. All right, so I mean, I'm not saying this game's going to be terrible. I'm just saying the reputation of Blackbox Adventures at this point in time is pretty bad. All right, so I don't think Tom Vasel should have apologized for anything he said in the past. What he's saying is watch out for this company. They don't have a good track record. The game does look promising. I read the rule book. It looks decent. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get, especially from a Kickstarter game. Not every Kickstarter game is good. So we'll see what happens when this comes out. All right, so those were the 7 that I really just wanted to talk about. Let me know if I forgot anything below. Just as a joke, I would have had a honorable mention here of ISS Vanguard, but that's just because of Etherfields is sort of a crapshoot at this point. Not a lot of people are liking it, but Awakened Realms does have a fantastic catalog of games, so I'm not really gonna disparage them too much about having one bad game. So let me know if there's any other companies or games that I missed. There you go. So we'll see you in the next one.